What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Aftersound here, bringing you Splinterlands content every single day. We also stream right here on this channel every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday morning. So come by and say hello. All right, I wanted to talk about rewards cards for a little bit, or at least for the purposes of this video. Now, one of the things that has surprised me to a certain extent is the fall, and somewhat drastic fall, in prices for the new rewards cards compared to the old reward cards of the same set, right? So everything with a Chaos Legion border here, this little fat Batman, as I like to call it, fat bat signal. So the thing is, there's a couple things that are probably factoring into this. One is, well, maybe these cards just aren't as good and have the same kind of utility as the older cards. So I have the common cards pulled up here. So for example, you have like Mirror Dhampir, Everhungry Skull, Bloodmaker, and Vampire Bat, which are all technically, I mean, they're decent and they have specific use cases, but when I think about them compared to a lot of the other cards, for example, I really like the Pelacor series here, the Conjurer, Mercenary, and the Bandit. There's a lot more use cases that I find myself using these monsters for, rather than specific, instances. So like Everhungry Skull is probably my favorite, but I would never use Everhungry Skull in a Magic match, for example, or I would never use Everhungry Skull in, I would never, but I would actually use it in certain rule sets to get the most out of it. So they don't have the same kind of utility in some instances. And then, we can look across the board here. Legendary, for the legendary cards, these are the ones that probably have the most use cases, or at least are OP as just cards in general. Obviously, big fan of Venator Kinjo, Countess Sinesh. Jared Scar is one of those that has probably more specific use cases. And you can see that this is a 4x on some of the older cards, or 2 to 4x, I should say, versus the 2x to essentially at parity for something like Vampire Bat. And we can see that 2x playing out across all of the rarities as well. So Tidebiter and Revealer are about 2x more on the epic side, and then on the rare side, we are seeing these cards, Dhampir Infiltrator. Well, really, I guess it's just Dhampir Infiltrator. Everything else is kind of at the 2 to 3 cent range. So we're seeing almost parity. And when I bring this in the context of where we're at from a print rate, it's surprising to me. Now, the second factor that could be leading to this is maybe some of those other older cards should never have been as expensive as they were. We were in a bull market at the time, and we were at a point in time where cards were just not available. So people were willing to pay whatever they could for the cards that were available on the market. And at that time, there was a constricted supply of these rewards cards that were coming out. Granted, a lot of them were being farmed by bots, but even then, with the new player interest that we were having in October, November, and December of last year, that was causing those prices to be quite inflated, right? I mean, we were seeing Pelacor Mercenaries, Pelacor Conjurers go for almost like 30 cents, which is 30x from where it is now. So that, I've talked about where I think these prices can go in the future. Again, none of this financial advice, and I don't even want to repeat the price predictions. I'm just saying that they were at 30 cents before, and when you compare them to where some of the other cards are at now, you can kind of get an idea, and it's kind of why I like buying into some of these cards. I mean, if you've come through any of the live streams, I'm trying to collect as many Pelacor Bandits as possible right now, because I do believe, 1 cent is a good price point. That being said, I can still see these going lower because, as we see here, only 60% have been printed. Now, one thing that I want to share with you, and this is not, there's no science behind this. This is just OG wisdom that I have gained from spending time in the Mav chat. And I wanted to share it with you guys. So you're getting secondhand or maybe even third-hand information here. I want to preface it with that. But for those who have been around in the previous expansions and rewards cards, the 50 to 70% print rates, when we were in that range, is when those cards were generally the cheapest. That seems to be the going or common wisdom across the Mav chat, or at least some of the folks who've been here in the game for a while. So when I look at this and I say, hey, we're at 60% right now, this may be the sweet spot. Again, not saying that it can't go lower, and not saying that we even have the demand to pick up the price once the actual cards are out of print. But if you look at a lot of these older cards, The commons are at 60%. You have the rares and the epics approaching 50%. And you have the legendaries just over 50% too. So there could be, and I guess this is what I'm trying to say is, the price could drop more, and I've already said, there's multiple reasons why, not just due to the rewards cards, but look at the market right now. Look at the global factors. Look at everything. That alone could drop the prices. But if we are entering into this area where now there's an oversupply and lack of demand, you could get good value on these as we enter this kind of 50 to 70% range. So what surprises me is that we are seeing on, for example, the common cards here, these are only at 3.5%, yet they are already at parity. So long term, I'm trying to think to myself, what are they going to do? How much lower can they go? Are we going to see sub-penny cards, maybe even half a penny cards when these cards get to that level? Well, there's a lot of factors that will play into this, and there's too much time in between now and when we get to, let's say, like the 50% mark for these. Granted, we're at 3.5% already after one season. Granted, it's been 2 end of seasons plus, a full season and some change because I'm recording this a couple days into the new season. So these are moving much more quickly than expected. Obviously, rewards are getting farmed out in a different way now, and hopefully a better way as players are getting more chests for the amount of time that they play. So therefore, the rewards are just better overall. So I'm excited about where these are headed, but at this point in time, I'm actually not even opposed anymore to starting to accumulate or level up my new rewards cards. For those that may have missed it, I was saying that these are ones that I'm just going to be selling as soon as I get. So for example, like the only legendary I've gotten is a Jared Scar. Sold it for $4 a couple days ago, maybe not a couple days ago, like last week, and obviously that ended up being a decent decision considering that it's down to $270. Granted, I probably kept that value in DEC, and DECs just continue to fall, or I bought another card and that card's continued to fall too. So we're seeing this across assets. Now, I guess what I'm trying to say, and my main takeaway from this video is, keep an eye. If you are looking for good deals on rewards cards, whether that is to level them up or whether that is to potentially invest in them for the future, knowing that at some point they will be out of print, then for these newer cards, we are approaching, for the older cards, we are approaching or are at the 50 to 70% range. Again, that's just the common wisdom that I've heard, and I wanted to pass along to you. And then for a lot of these older cards, or for a lot of these newer cards, I should say, so the newer rewards cards that have come out, to see their prices already at somewhat parity, I'm not as opposed to starting to level them up now, because I'm facing off against them. This whole reflection shield gets really annoying in the blast rule sets, and since I don't have one, I struggle. So now it's like, okay, well, the early adopters went and got theirs. They paid their premium. The cards are now coming back down to, I would say, not the lowest level by any means, but definitely a more sustainable level. And I do believe we will continue to see them drop, right? Because there's still a small amount on the market available, and the demand is maybe just not really there yet. So hopefully over time we'll see that continue to fall, but it may not be the worst time to get in, especially if we are seeing them at parity, because who knows what is going to happen between now and the end of the year. The team is extremely bullish. Okay, so that's something that I think should at least be called out. Now, whether or not you believe in the team's bullishness, we don't have, we're not privy to the information that they have, what they are working on. But the fact that they keep throwing out timelines such as selling out of Chaos Legion potentially in November makes me wonder what else they might have up their sleeve. So when these types of things are around, when I look at this and say, okay, well, it's not that I want to FOMO into the newer cards now, nor do I want to FOMO into the older cards. I already did my FOMOing into the older cards because before this new ranked rewards, I wanted to make sure that I maximized my cards out. And now I'm considering doing that with the newer cards while also stacking some of the older cards that I think could have value if if I believe that, there may be some investment opportunity there. So again, I'm not trying to share anything with you or give you some crazy kind of like price prediction or what's going to move where. You already know what I've been stacking. So the fact of the matter is, do your own research and see how you want to interact with these cards. Excuse me. If there is value in them over the next, over the next couple of weeks before the end of the airdrop, for example, and if you want to get in before then, wait until the end of the airdrop. You're gonna have to weigh these decisions out. but just trying to share as much information with you as possible and give you my perspective on how I'm approaching things now. Because the goal for me, ultimately the goal is to have a maxed out Chaos Legion deck as well as Chaos Legion rewards cards. Now, I am focusing on the cards that matter the most and the ones that I play the most, but it'd be great to have a maxed collection regardless. So I will be working towards these, and I do believe that rewards cards are probably the easiest because they tend to be the cheapest, as well as I earn them for free whenever I play the game and get my rewards for daily focus or end of season. So that's all I have for you guys in today's video. Have an amazing rest of your day. I will catch you all in the next one, and I will see you around the game.